Sure. I grew up in Waco, Texas, 9th Street, Waco, which is used to be sort of infamous for drugs and just kind of violence and things like that. And down the street was lower income apartment housing, and then I was 3 houses down from that. So even though I grew up fairly poor, you know, and what I mean fairly poor is myself, 2 other male cousins, around the same age, 1 year apart and a few months apart, because my aunt died in our house. They were a military family, and she died at home, and my grandmother and my mom took them in, and my mom only made about $9 an hour.
Mm-hmm.
So you can imagine those 3 boys and a grandmother who didn't have income but just Social Security, who lived in a house that, you know, thank God it was paid for.
Yeah.
You know, otherwise we would have had mortgage too. But I mean, that was our upbringing, and you made it, you survived. One thing that we didn't do is my family was very prideful, so we would definitely qualify for government subsidy, housing, food stamps,
You would?
the whole. Oh yeah,
Uh-huh.
we would have definitely. Yeah.
But you never did.
Got it.
But you,
No. She wouldn't apply. So, based on that, we did things like gather cans, you know, sell cans, recycling. Before everyone was going green, we were green. We delivered phone books. We picked grapes, and I mean, this is the late '80s, '90s when that wasn't. I mean, that sounds like something back in the '50s or '60s, but you know, that's what we did to survive. So, school, I actually went to Baylor, starting out on a dare. I went to Baylor because one of my aunts, in that setting, you know, it is a lot of segregation. So one of my aunts made the statement that you can't go to school over there with those rich white kids. Like, you know, she couldn't get past. He can actually go to school, you know. And my grandmother was actually against me going to school. She just wanted us to graduate, number one, and then go to the military.
Oh, really?
That was her whole thing. She wanted her boys to go to the military. She had 2 sons. She had 14 kids total. 2 were boys. She wanted them to go to the military, and they never did. And so she wanted us to do that. And we all actually did. All 3, me and my 2 cousins, went to the military, but they went right after high school. I went to Baylor on the dare. So after going to Baylor and realizing I couldn't afford Baylor,
then you went to.
I went to North Texas. And things changed in North Texas, and I ended up working more than going to school, and just didn't know what I wanted to do. So I spent 6 years in the Air Force. Well, 4 years in the Air Force, 2 in the Texas Air National Guard. And I went to school at night, Colorado Christian, and got my bachelor's degree in organizational management. So that's kind of what qualified me to finally get here. It's such a controversial issue, you know. I think I actually like your point of being privileged and not accepting affirmative action for affirmative action's sake. How it's hard for me to answer this question because there's a little bit of bias that I'm not trying to use, but I want to be honest with you. For someone like myself, if I can backtrack a little bit, when I was getting ready to go to college and go to Baylor specifically, I left Baylor a lot because of the expense. I had the intellect, was very popular, very involved, and had to leave because couldn't afford it, and it was just I didn't want to dig myself in a deeper financial hole than I already grew up with the rest of my life, with tons of student loans and things like that. And so sometimes with with grants and with funding and even sometimes with some acceptance in the coined phrase white America, sometimes it's beneficial, but I think we need to make sure that as a nation we wean away from that, and that we don't start accepting crutches just because
they're there
of the past.
Yeah.
When I first got to Baylor, I totally believe this was in innocence, but this was, I guess, in this guy's defense, I was more muscular, just finished playing football, had a few opportunities to play small college football, but I didn't pursue those avenues. I just didn't think I had a future in it, so I didn't pursue it. But because of the size, and I'm standing in line, the first question in welcome week, they have the week you get to school, and one of the professors was going around and he was meeting people, and he asked me, he said, what position do you play for? That was his first question, assuming, hey, this guy, he plays football, and I remember feeling I answered this question, but I remember feeling just so disappointed. Man, I'm in college, this place of higher education, and it's still the same mindset.
You feel people are still going to see you that way as an athlete before a student.
Right. Actually, I answered this question sarcastically. I said I played nursing because honestly, and if you had got the chance to know me, I don't think that I really even deal with it. I don't have to deal with it. Most people who know me closely know that racial jokes or statements or just ostracizing one group, it really, if I can use this, it pisses me off.
Oh.
So I don't deal with it, and if it comes up, I usually address it right away. So even amongst my family, amongst people at work or just whatever, I mean, I don't deal with it. I don't get involved. That tone is set. So when I step in a room, I pretend that I'm here. I'm clear. I'm not black. I'm not white. I don't really focus. I really don't focus on it. But like I said earlier in our statement, you can tell sometimes that this person is less accepting of me for some reason, and it makes you wonder, is it because I'm African American? But wherever there's a issue, any issue can be an opportunity. It just depends on how you view it. First, matter of fact, the people who reject you the most, in my experience, people who reject me the most is the ones that I pursue the most, because I want you to know that you're missing out on a prized possession. If I can go back to my 9th Street days, this is Keenan Acres, baby. Like you missing out on the best. So if you sleep on me, that's you and your class that's gonna be listening. I'll pull other young, African American workers aside and say, you know what? Actually, one left the company. I almost got into a heated argument in the hallway, and I said, man, you are a cancer. Like you complain, you gripe, and in your complaining and griping, you're not producing.
Mm-hmm.
So why would anybody think anything different of you? You talk about you being black, you talk about being in white America, why would they think anything different of you when you're showing them exactly what they're saying?
Mm-hmm.
And I told him to shut up, but I said, shut up, close your mouth, go to work, like we're peers. And he, of course, I don't understand. I'm the Uncle Tom, so there you go. And but I'm still here, and I'm still being elevated, and he's doing okay right now, but nothing like it. But he lost a good situation by just standing, mumbling, complaining, griping on basically nothing. You